Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. The new Broadway play, Gary, a sequel to Titus Andronicus, takes a small character from a very large, very bloody revenge tragedy by Shakespeare and creates a hilarious, grotesque play that is less revenge and more outlandish, fart-based comedy. Gary stars Nathan Lane as the titular character who, in the original play, had very few lines before being sentenced to death. In our sequel, we find Gary having escaped death and working as a maid with Kristine Nielsen, the two of them mopping up the bodies after the massacre that ended the original Titus. Also joining the blood and flatulence-soaked hijinks is our other guest here, Julie White, who plays a midwife in search of a lost baby and is also perpetually bleeding from a slit throat. Please welcome Julie and Kristine, everybody. Give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. This play is surreal and crazy, and it makes perfect sense that Ralph Steadman would do the drawing of the cover. Now, I know there is some... And of course, Eleanor, your Julie's dog, is having some water before we get started.
That's hers now.
Drink it up.
Water now.
I know there was some jostling of parts prior to the show sort of really getting underway, but let's talk about your relationship with Taylor Mac and his work. He's such a sort of legend of theater in New York at this point, or maybe of the world, with his sort of 24-hour play that he performed where he sang like hundreds of songs. I believe. Were you aware of his work prior to the show?
Yes, I actually did one of his plays called Here at Playwrights Horizon about, I guess it's 3 years now. It seems like yesterday, but it's 3 years ago. And it was a family play. It was a play about transgender and families dealing with that and mother and father. Kind of we used to call it a mashup of Sam Shepard and Krista Rang. It was wild and wonderful and like his voice, so unique.
He has said, I read a quote of his that I think was in the New York Times in the review of this play, and it had said that he said that subtlety is a privilege, and that very much encapsulates a lot of this show. And I'm curious what it's like for you as the actors at times to go as over the top and as big as you possibly can, I think. Go ahead.
It's fun.
Is it really?
Yeah, sometimes it's fun. It's just, you just raise the stakes. I mean, the stakes are pretty high.
Right.
Certainly for my character, she's had her throat slit.
Yeah.
Basically for just doing her job. And now she doesn't know where she is, and she thinks maybe it's hell, or that, like, before
or the underworld.
hell, like, that you're going to get, she's pleading her case, like, please don't send me to hell.
Yeah.
And
the old purgatory.
The kind of purgatory. Yeah. There's that in there, and then, I don't know, it's interesting.
I think in life, though, I think that it's such a smart comment on his part. I actually think in life we are bigger than we think we are. We love subtlety in movies and television sometimes. Yeah. Great acting does that too. But I think in life we make these bold, big, huge choices sometimes, and he just is reflecting that. And especially in this world with the internet and all that, we are a little... bigger than we used to be, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think we've always been big. I think it's been some sort of weird, snooty idea of what art should be. That it should be subtle, or that subtlety...
You're more real if you whisper.
Yeah, that subtlety is somehow really the human experience, when the human experience is vast and grand and humongous. You have a scene, though, where you are playing with a dead body that farts, I think, at least 10, 15, 20 times while you're playing with it.
Now, as Janice, I'd say I'm not playing with that body.
Excuse me. Sorry. You are
I'm
releasing the body of its
degassing
fluids. Yeah, degassing it.
Getting it ready to, go to the underworld.
What was it like to read that on the page and then rehearse it and then get it down? Because that's the kind of thing that I imagine there's almost more vulnerability to doing something like that than there is to doing a dramatic scene.
Well, I think those things are fun because I find it kind of vaudevillian, and I love that. I mean, I think the humor of it always struck me. I never found it offensive.
Oh God, no.
Lord knows everybody does it. Yeah. It's not a secret. Everybody goes to the bathroom. Everybody farts. So you just have to laugh and go, how do you handle it in that? And it's true. You forget that dead bodies do. As they sit in the morgue, they Apparently, there's lots of concerts that go on.
Oh my
If you
God.
think about it.
I've always heard that ballerinas also in the ballet, like if you're up on stage there, all those lifts and jumps and stuff. It's like toot, toot, toot. It's, yeah.
And farts are supposed to be funny too, otherwise they wouldn't sound like farts. It's the greatest, funniest sound, I think.
Maybe it was God's gift to us.
I think so.
Just like, sorry, you're... the other
Life
thing
is
that's
gonna be
all
miserable.
Life is
At
gonna
least
be
you
kind
can
of
fart.
miserable. But also, Taylor is doing a thing where, he's starting to mess with your mind about your perception of tragedy, because our play, which has all this goofing around in it and some real tragedy, I think, is supposed to be starting at the point where Titus Andronicus, Shakespeare's tragedy, ended, which is real bad for everybody.
Basically everybody dies
and
at the end
you would
of...
be like, boo-hoo, so sad, it's horrible, it's a tragedy. And then out come these clowns and start poking on the dead and whoop, sweet, whoop, and I think in this audience, you were saying when you saw it, like 15 minutes in, you thought, what's happening? Where am I?
I was so confused.
And
Yeah.
the genius of the bodies. I mean, I give Santo Loquasto
Yes.
so much credit for how those bodies, when the
set
curtain
design.
comes up, that you laugh at a mass of bodies. Do you know? It could be scary. I had a friend who came to see it yesterday, and she goes, I was really nervous about when the reveal was going to happen and we were going to see the bodies, because she had read things that said, I saw all these dead bodies on stage. It's going to be very sad and dreary.
Yeah.
And Santo found that wonderful balance of making them look doll-like, and then they can be used as both for fun, and then there are moments when they do have a lot of tragedy in them. They do look like awful familiar images of piles of dead bodies. Do you know?
There's this strange thin line that it's riding where it's like we discard of bodies. And this is talked about in the plays, that we discard of bodies so that we can kind of forget the dead or mourn them and then forget them. And in this, you play with the bodies. You bring life back into the bodies to sort of remind people almost that these were human beings.
Yes. Well,
Not a
and
question.
Carol, your character is one of those bodies that comes to life.
Right.
Yeah.
If you think of it.
Because
Really.
it looks like, when you last see me, it looks like I'm probably a goner.
Yeah.
I've been hemorrhaging blood from my neck.
Both sides of the neck.
And down the front.
That's right.
There's sort of a splash zone in the first couple of rows. But
How
I'm going
often?
to look in your ear and see if you still had any blood.
I had so much blood go in my ear yesterday. But the other thing is that Taylor has the women and children covered. So we're not seeing that. It's all guys, that all the bodies, and they're all naked. So there's just dicks everywhere.
A lot of dicks.
A lot of dicks.
Doll dicks, though. we should
Doll
say.
dicks, yeah. But my sister saw it and she was like, oh, yeah. And then penises continue to be kind of a motif throughout the show and ultimately dance. But my sister said, yeah, it's about all that dick swinging and how it ruins the world. Like that was her takeaway from it.
Well, I think that, in that era, of course, it was men.
Yes, but like the actual phrase, that dick swinger would sort of, describes a guy, that macho behavior that usually leads to bad outcomes. And to
Yeah.
put it mildly.
That's a gentle way of saying it.
Yes.
What I love about that, though, is that it feels like your sister's take is just one possible take on the
Exactly.
work.
Exactly.
And the work can elicit a number of different responses.
I was
and takes
so
to it.
surprised when she said that. I had never really thought of it that way. But it's the wonder of doing the play as we go into it, like finding it keeps going. It keeps going and going. And you said when we first met, oh, I feel like I want to come back and see it
Yeah.
again. We've heard that from a lot of people because as you get to the end, you think, oh, wait, that's what was happening back
Exactly. Like the
Yeah.
end has this landing that you get everything else that has just happened, and you want to kind of go back to know what you were getting into and where you were going in a certain
Yeah.
way. I mean, like great works of art kind of do that.
And my friend yesterday, she said, "Is it published yet?" We'll have to find out when it's going to be published, because she said, "I want to read it because he's so smart."
What were your takes when you were? I mean, obviously, and we haven't even gotten to this yet, but there were some things that happened backstage in terms of casting. But prior to that, when you were reading it, when you were getting ready to do it, were you analyzing the text and trying to figure out deeper meanings, or for you, is it about this is what my character is doing in this moment? And
well, we have
focus
two
on
different journeys. So my first journey, because I was involved in it from the top as Carol, was that we did sit around and talk a lot and do a lot of script work. I think Taylor is first and foremost a marvelous performer, and I think he wanted to make sure that it was entertaining and communicating to an audience. And some of it was literal. Some of it seemed very dense when we were sitting around reading it. So it paired itself away. You know, it started emerging as a more theatrical piece, and some of that was, you know, Nathan and Andrea's work. Andrea Martin was originally cast as Janice.
How do you say Taylor is such a performer when you're doing script work with him or when you're doing a read through? How does he talk to you about your performance? Obviously, he's not the director, but I'm sure he's working in tandem with the director in the early stages, dealing with the performance and script work.
Well, I think he's trying to find an entertaining way to talk about very big issues, right. Which he did. It's a very important. A lot of things he's saying are very important, but he wants to seduce you into listening. Right. I think in a kind of great way, which he does with the comedy in the beginning. It starts with a lot of, as I said to you, vaudeville. A lot of the funny things with the bodies, the two people who hate each other having to work together, you know, and work it out, and the, you know, the leader, and then the, you know, the clown who's always, you know, making a joke of everything, and all that tension. He wants you to see all the relationships and everything, and then waits for a bit. As you say, the play evolves when Gary decides, I don't want this world. I'm going to be better than this world. You know, and that it was just trying to find the way to allow the audience to follow that journey.
And what about, I mean, I know you came on like a week before, right? Something like that?
Yeah. They asked me to do it on Sunday, and I rehearsed Tuesday through Saturday, and then I had Sunday off, and then I started performances. So 5 days. So all I did was learn my freaking lines.
Had you ever done that before?
You know, we were talking about this. When you do television,
Yeah.
you don't have that script very long. You don't have as much to do usually.
Your sides in the morning usually, right?
Yeah, or I'll get a script. I just finished doing season 3 of Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland, and it was very, you know, wonky. Like lots of words, talking through the White House. So it was complicated, and you would have to. The camera guy is carrying a camera and walking backwards in front of you, and it's all in one shot. So you better know it, you know, and make your choices and just go for it. So it's not entirely unheard of, but it was scary. But somehow Kristine and Nathan made it less scary for me because we did have fun. Kind of.
And we had to do it together. Nathan was just incredible during this whole experience, because when I jumped over, I only had a week too. And,
Yes.
So what happened was that, I mean, just so people don't think that Andrea Martin got fired.
No,
She got injured while doing the show.
No,
excuse me.
She was injured at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
She fell at home, and they tried to she tried to soldier on, but she was in so much pain. It was just like a crazy. And Nathan tried to do a lot of her business, and then the play became mutated in a way, and then they went back to the original play and said, this isn't going to work. And it was kind of a sad, but she was incredibly generous, wrote me beautiful notes and encouragement. So it was a pleasant passing of the guard, we could say.
So now with a week out, you switch roles and you come into the role that introduces the show, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's it?
Just learn it, you know, learn it and say it and make choices and go for them. You know, there wasn't a lot of time for like, oh, I can't decide. I wonder.
Could
what
I
she-
do that again?
Yeah, can I? Yeah, or like, I wonder what she's feeling here. I would just be like, okay, this is what she's feeling. Let's go with that.
Right.
And see where it takes me. And what was so great was that Nathan started laughing at stuff right away. He was like, yeah, I love it. So I'm like, if you make Nathan Lane laugh, then you're probably on the right track.
But I wonder with, a week out and just sort of learning your lines, the lines in this play can be fairly dense and open to interpretation in terms of how
And
you're
they
going
could
to read
change
They
because
Really?
it was a new play.
Yeah.
So they had not done an out-of-town tryout. There was no other prior performance of it. This was it. So
Good
he gave
previews
us a
and he's
week of
changing.
previews to sort of feel, oh, I'm starting to get it, before they shifted the sands all again to rewrites.
And rewrites, yeah.
Are you still rewriting or are you
No,
opened and you're
done.
good? You're done.
It gets set before you get, before
But the
you
day
open.
before, we got the pie thing the
Oh
day
my
before.
gosh.
You got the
that's-
pie?
No, no.
Not in the tea party scene. They were sort of feeling that they were losing why Janice was so anxious for Carol to eat the pie.
Okay.
So they plunked in a speech. And when you say a speech, yes, I had to know the words, but Nathan and Julie had to be present and have
Figure
to
out how
have to
that
figure their
fit
response to
in
that
with the craziness of the Tea Party.
Yeah.
But that Tea Party is nuts.
As much as you have a speech, they also have lines that come before and after that speech that they have to kind of.
all informed by the speech. So and they have to hear it. So
Yeah.
it's a group thing again.
Now, the way that we talk about this is kind of like it was tough here and there, and then it was a lot of fun. But overall, when you look back, was it mostly very fun to do?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do say yeah. I'm tired right now a little bit because of the whole season now, the way it all plays out.
Right.
But it's a fatigue that as soon as we set on stage, it goes away. It really does.
And what was it like when you guys got the Tony nomination?
Kind of surreal. I mean,
Really great.
it was really amazing and so happy because our play is not normal Broadway fare. And we thought maybe Tony voters would be a little, we didn't.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Oh, how brave, but not yet.
Yeah.
You know.
But that they went ahead and really showered love on the play. Weirdly, they did not nominate Nathan, which is just
Which is a big bittersweet little
kind of nuts.
thing in the middle of the
We don't
whole
get it.
celebration.
We figure maybe they just thought, well, we gave it to him last year. You can't get another one.
Something strange.
Too
We
much,
don't know.
but it's really one of the greatest performances I've ever seen.
I've really felt like with this and with the the weird, strange, surreal revival of Oklahoma that I can't really predict what's going to be on Broadway anymore. It feels like a new world where like sort of strange off-Broadway fare is getting onto Broadway in
Yeah.
some ways.
Well, I think it's trying to find a good, young, vibrant audience, and doing something that they would be interested in seeing, not just what the my age would want to go to the theater and see it. Like, oh, who's doing Virginia Woolf this week?
Yes.
Something like that.
Right.
And that's great. Except for that's so predictable at a certain level.
Yeah.
And what Taylor has tapped into and what I think he's such a genius about, with all of his grants and everything, is that he is figuring out how to communicate to a younger audience that gets him.
I would say he's communicating to both audiences because when I was at this show, there was a lot of people from the old Broadway audience that I see a lot who are having a great.
Oh,
That's good. I feel
Yeah.
like they didn't want to get left out. I feel like they're getting on the train, which is a great feeling.
Yes, it does feel like that it grows and grows. The longer we do it, it's just a function of how plays work. You get better at them. You're able to hold so many things in your mind at once, as we do in life. Like you don't just have one feeling at a time. I mean, everything is informed in the backstory and what's underneath, and we're getting all of those colors come into it. And having done the play, how much? 6 weeks now?
I guess so. I guess about.
Jesus.
It's been 6 weeks.
I guess, yeah, since we
opened on
started. But there are things that I'm still just like, whoa, oh wait, that's what's happening there. So it's been wonderful kind of a thrilling thing to get to work on.
I think we have time for a couple questions from the audience. Who has a question? Right here. Hi.
Hi. So you both have had a very varied career, both on stage and on film and TV. For aspiring actors, what advice would you give at the current moment?
I know. Go ahead.
Don't be an actor. No, just kidding. The cool thing right now is that you can produce your own content, really, and get really good at it. Figure out what you want to say, and if someone is not hiring you or giving you the chance to do it yourself. And stranger things have happened. I think it's also great. See as much as you can. Highbrow and low. Educate yourself. And whenever you get a chance to work hard.
I say all of that. I double down on everything she said, but I also say don't forget the theater. I know there's so much with internet, with movies and television and all of that, but the theater is really an actor's place. So don't be afraid of it. And it's where you really know if something has landed, and you can. It's a circle. I heard Glenda Jackson say that, and I've repeated it because you learn so much about your journey when you get something back.
Yes, from the audience. That is so true. God dang, I had a thought and then it went away.
It's okay.
I'm too tired.
We've got a few more minutes. It might come back. If not, it's okay. One more.
Hello, guys.
Hi.
So we have a question from our site, buildseries.com.
Okay.
And it's, what aspect of this play led you to joining this production?
Did we what?
What aspects of the play led us to joining it?
Like
well,
yeah.
I read it back in September, and I just loved it. And then I did a deep dive on YouTube into all things Taylor Mac, because unlike Kristine, I didn't know anything about him. And I really became Team Taylor. It was like, whatever this dude wants to do, I'll do it. I'm game to be part of this experiment. So it was really, I had no question.
And the other part of the creative team. I mean, it was, I've always wanted to work with George C. Wolfe. I think he is a marvelous director. I've always loved seeing his shows, so it was great to get schooled by him a little bit. It was really, really fun. And also the designers. I lived near Santo Loquasto. He's been a friend of mine for 40 years. So to actually have that, to have him do the set, which I think is so marvelously successful. It was all like little add-ons that were just like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Nathan Lane, that sounds really good. And then, when all that stuff happened, Julie White. I love Julie White.
We played sisters in Vanya, Sonia, Masha, and Spike.
That's right.
Kristen Ang's play. Yeah.
I was just, when I heard her name, I just couldn't stop beaming for the whole day.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Oh, I'll have someone to go wine to.
This will be okay. We'll be
And
okay.
wine and wine.
Exactly.
So were you a part of the show before Nathan had signed on?
No.
Oh, okay.
I did do a workshop of it many years ago when he was creating it, but he was doing Nathan's part. I was doing Janice then.
So he wrote this along, or has been writing this for a number of years.
For like a few years.
Wow. Well, congratulations on the show. I love it. It's currently running at Booth Theater, and congratulations on the Tony nominations. It's amazing. Everybody, please give Julie and Kristine a huge round of applause for being here.
Thank you.
Oh, and Eleanor.